Everyone, do you mind if during your meditation I come forward, I take some pictures, do a little video for social media? Nobody got a problem with that then? Do keep your eyes closed. Come on, this one.
It's just inside, yeah. I have actually just introduce it.
So, does anyone have any questions that arose in their mind? No. So my question then for you is, what is your mind? What is your mind? Because we talk about training our mind, but what is our mind? Normally we think that our mind is some physical thing associated with our brain. But mind and body are different things. Body is a physical thing, our mind is not. Our brain is part of our body. But our mind is different. There's a separation between our mind, although they're associated, but they're not the same thing. Mind and body are different. So our body is this form that we see, but our mind is like clear, empty space. But this empty space of our mind has a function. It functions to know and understand things, and experience things, and make decisions and determinations. For example, if I ask you to think about an elephant, and an elephant appears to your mind, but there's no elephant here, and yet there's an elephant that appears in your mind. If I ask you to think of the moon, immediately your mind goes to the moon, but your body stays here. So you can touch your body, but you can't touch your mind. The reason for this is this mind is just like empty space. But it's because it's empty space that things can appear in this clarity, this clear nature of our mind. So the definition of mind is that which is clarity, like clear empty space. But this clarity functions. The empty space in here, for example, doesn't function in this way. So our mind is clarity, and yet it functions to be able to know things, to experience things, and to understand things. Also, the mind is located at our heart. Normally we think the mind's up here somewhere, but actually it's the essence of our mind is at our heart. So when you experience feelings, you have beautiful feelings, you experience it here. You have anger, you experience the unpleasant feeling of anger here. You have nice feelings, you experience them here. But also our mind is like a continuum. Each moment of mind is like the cause of its next moment. And so the next moment is an effect that arises in dependence upon the cause of its previous moment. So, if you think, there's one moment of mind, there's the next moment, but in that space there's countless moments of mind going on, and each one is following in from its previous one. And if we understand this, that each moment of mind arises in dependence upon its previous moment, we come to understand that our mind has no beginning. There's no beginning to our mind. So this creates all kinds of different understanding from what we have in the West. If our mind has no beginning, in other words, we had a mind before this life, this moment, this life we have, this physical being is associated with our mind of this life. Now, where was our mind of our previous life? It must have been associated with some other physical being, another different body. And again, where was the mind of the white life before that one? And it keeps going on, and you keep looking for the first moment of mind. And you think you found it. But suddenly you realize, well, what caused this one? There must have been another moment before that one. So you realize there's no beginning. Our mind has no beginning. And therefore, it has no end. Our mind has no beginning and no end. So it's like there's a whole past history of our mind, and there will be a whole future history of our mind. I think a lot of our problems that we have in the West is that we tend to define ourselves in terms of our physical being. So we have this body and we happen to have a mind. And because of that, we tend to focus only on the life of this body. What's happening in the duration, and as long as we have this body, what's happening to my mind in this time? But when we begin to realize that we've had countless lives in the past, and we will have countless lives and minds in the future, maybe we should begin to think of ourselves like a mental being, a spiritual being, who happens this time to have this body. If we begin to think like this, that we have this mental continuum, our mind has no beginning and no end, then we begin to ask ourselves, well, what was I doing in my past life? How come I have this particular body in this lifetime? And also, what kind of body will I have in my next lifetime? What kind of life will I be having? What kind of mind will I be having in my next life? And we begin to realize that there is this relationship between cause and effect, which is governs everything. That somehow or other we've created in our past lives the cause to have this particular mind in this lifetime. So sometimes you wonder where are these negative tendencies that we have? Why do I get angry? Why do I get angry in particular situations? Why do I develop attachment to particular forms and shapes and particular aspects of beauty? And the answer to that question is because we ourselves have created the cause by our past actions. So every time we have a major thought, like an intention, and this intention, it might be a good intention or it might be a bad intention, it leads us to engage in actions. Yeah? Maybe you want to push somebody under a bus. And this is kind of, we can call this a bad intention. So, if you actually push somebody under a bus, you would create a negative action. You'd create a negative potential because every action has a result. Every action has a consequence. There is no action that does not have a consequence. And where does that consequence go? Where does the action of pushing someone under a bus finish? Well, because the action itself creates a potential in our mind. And we carry that potential from life to life. And eventually, we get what we put out. Someone else is going to push us under a bus at some point in the future, or something like that. You can't indicate, but we're creating a lot of problems and difficulties for ourselves. We're creating the cause of our future sufferings. Yeah? No? So you ask yourself, why do I experience these problems and sufferings in this lifetime? It's not fair. We think it's not fair. But we never think that we might have created the cause of these problems and difficulties in a previous life. For example, if we have a sore back or a sore ankle or something, maybe it's because we hit somebody in the back or kicked somebody in the ankle in the previous life. And this experience in this lifetime is just coming to us because of something we did in a previous life. We can't pin it down in any particular way, any specific way, but we can begin to understand that there is a general relationship between the actions we engage in and the results that we experience. The results are our experiences, and our actions are the cause. So you begin to understand why it is so important that we stop following our negative thoughts and minds, and instead cultivate positive minds so the negative intentions never arise. Even though you see your worst enemy, you never get the thought, I want to push you under a bus. And instead, I want to help you. Yeah. So we avoid creating negative potentials that lead to our future suffering, and instead we create positive potentials that lead to more peace and happiness for ourselves. And in the process, we're gradually moving further along this progression towards a state where our mind becomes completely pure, completely free from any negative intentions, and is only filled with positive thoughts and values that wishes to benefit every other living being. So it's just a gradual process. We may not reach this state of permanent peace and happiness for ourselves and the ability to bring it to others in this lifetime, but at least we're giving us, if we engage in Buddhist teachings and take them to heart, then we're creating the cause to be able to do it again in our future life. And at some stage, in some lifetime in the future, we will achieve this situation, this beautiful mind, filled with love and compassion and joy and happiness. But we need to begin to let go of the idea that it's only this life that's important. We begin to think about, so many people think what we're going to do when we retire. But what's much more important is what we're going to do in our next life. What sort of mind am I taking with me into my next life? Is it a mind just filled with anger and negative thoughts and feelings, or is it a mind that's filled with love and compassion and wisdom? So the trouble is, once you listen to Buddha's teachings, there's no way back. You have a responsibility then to begin to follow this spiritual journey, because it's the only way that we're going to ensure that we find peace and happiness, not just in this lifetime, but in future lifetimes. So this brings us to why it is so important to begin to train our mind now, in this very moment. And there's also the question, how did we get this opportunity? And the answer is we created this opportunity for ourselves. I'll tell you a story. Long ago, many centuries ago, there was this teacher in a Buddhist university in India. And he had many, many students. And other teachers in the university hardly had any. He just had a few students. And so his students kept asking him to explain why he had so many students and others didn't. And he would never answer them. He would, no, it's not important. But they kept on asking him, and after a while he eventually relented. And all he said to them was, in one of my previous lives, I was in retreat in a cave. And while I was in this cave, I was reading Buddhist scriptures out loud, and I was reciting mantras out loud and reciting prayers out loud. And in this cave, there were many flies. That's all he said. Because the flies had heard these teachings, they'd imprinted their mind to be able to hear the teachings again. I'm not saying you were flies in the previous But ask yourself, how did you get here? What were all the causes that you created for you to be here today, listening to how to improve your mind? It's extraordinary. And it's something that the cause of having a precious human life is pure moral discipline. Never engaging in any hurt or harm to any other living being. So that gives you a human life. But there's many people who has human lives. But also the cause of having a fortunate human life to be able to have the good conditions, living in Liverpool is pretty good. We all look reasonably well dressed and well fed. No one's suffering terribly. And so you've created conditions to have a fortunate life. But also you've created the conditions to be able to hear Buddhist teachings. Of all the people in Liverpool, what percentage of them are able to hear these teachings, how to improve your mind? You created this. This is very special. Your human life is very special because you have this opportunity to engage in this spiritual progress, this spiritual journey that will lead you to this extraordinary state where not only do you experience happiness and joy for yourself, but you have the power to bring it to other people. So you're special. So you need to remember that. You need to remember that. And just have the confidence that you can continue to do this. And you've done it already. Like the story of the cave. You're here because you've heard Buddhist teachings before. Of course you don't remember it because your mind of the previous life when you heard these teachings, that mind is gone. And your gross mind now is very different. Also, it's important to understand that we have different levels of mind. The gross mind, which is like our waking mind, it also contains our memories. Then there's a subtle mind that's like a dreaming mind. You have dreams, yeah? And things appear in your dreams, and when you wake up, they're not there. The beautiful people that appear in your dreams are not there. And you start looking for them. Well, they're just subtle objects that appear to your subtle mind. But then you have the deepest level of mind, it's called very subtle mind. Gross mind, subtle mind, very subtle mind. Very subtle mind is just like clear light. It's so subtle that whatever appears, whatever is contained in that mind, you can't experience it. We can't remember it because we have no mindfulness when we're asleep until we become a great yogi. If there's anybody can meditate while you're sleeping, just let me know. But then it's this very subtle mind that goes from life to life. A gross mind, when we die, that mind has ceased. Everything that appeared to that mind has ceased. So we don't remember anything from our previous life. So all the things, all the stuff you're collecting in this life, it just disappears at the time of death. You know, the beautiful house, the fast cars, etc., they're all gone in the time of death. So you can't take them with you. The only thing you take with you is your very subtle mind and everything, all the potentials that you've already created into your next life. So one of the important things of thinking in this way is that we spend so much energy just in pursuit of the things that appear to us in this lifetime. And then when we die, they disappear. So in essence, they have no real meaning for our long-term life-to-life development. And this is why I say it's more important to think of ourselves as a mental continuum that happens to have this body. This body is just temporary. We know that, right? And we get a new one next life. Sometimes I think I can't wait to get a new one. This body's just falling apart. Anyway, so we should be caring more about what potentials we're creating to be able to experience in our future life. And this is why we need to avoid, at all costs, negative actions that are the cause of suffering, and instead create minds that only engage in virtuous actions, the cause of happiness. So, to begin to understand the nature of our mind, I want to spend a little bit of time just meditating on the nature of our mind. Okay? So again, just watch the rhythm of your breathing for a few moments. And we can just remember the definition of our mind. That mind is that which is clarity, like a clear, empty space, that functions to cognize, to know things, to understand things, to experience things. So we understand that in the process of cognizing things, things appear in our mind. Things, places, people appear in our mind. These are all the objects of our experiences. But our basic mind is simply the nature of clarity, like clear, empty space. So one analogy is like our mind is like clear blue sky. Clear blue sky. And all the things that appear to our mind are like the clouds. So if we think of our mind at the level of our heart, and repeat to ourselves, my mind is the nature of clarity, like clear blue sky, and it functions to cognize, to know things, to experience things. And these things that our mind knows are simply appearances in the clear sky of my mind. So think of your mind as like this clear blue sky, and everything that appears as just clouds. So we try to focus our mind in our meditation only on the clear blue sky. But from time to time, some thought will arise, like a cloud just appearing in the sky. Instead of focusing on the cloud, just let the cloud go. Let it disappear. And return your focus to the clear blue sky of the clarity of your own mind. Whenever an object appears in your mind, just let it go. Just like a cloud appearing and then disappearing. And just keep your focus on the clear blue sky of the clarity of your own mind. just keep letting go of the clouds, of the objects that appear in your mind, so you can perceive the real nature of your own mind, this beautiful clarity that is only peace. So again, you can begin to relax your concentration. And then when you're ready, you can arise from meditation. So we begin, with this meditation, we begin to realize that everything that appears to us in any moment and throughout every day is just something that appears in our mind. If you were to search for the thing that's appearing in your mind, you won't find anything out there. Because to experience something, it has to be inside your mind, not outside. Yes? To experience anything has to be inside your mind. Because we only experience things with the clarity of our mind. So if something's appearing in our mind, it's simply that, an appearance. Which is the best news that you're here all day. If something was existing outside your mind, there's nothing you can do about it. You can't control it. It's hard enough controlling your mind, but you can't control the things that you think are external, because they're not. But you can control your mind. In other words, you can control how you experience and how you think about things. So even difficult situations that you find yourself in, they're opportunities to improve your mind. Like just accepting a difficulty with patience. Just patience. Patience means I'm accepting this, I'm happy right now. I don't care what's happening out there. You know, it's not just grinning and bearing it. It's just thinking, I'm happy. My happiness does not depend upon what's happening out there. Which is such a powerful mind. Yeah. So it doesn't, you don't care who gets elected and who doesn't get elected. Because your happiness is dependent upon creating the qualities of mind that create your own happiness. Cause and effect. You create the qualities, you experience the effects. So, well, let's to last meditation, in which we really create a cause of happiness. The great 8th century scholar called Shantideva, he said, amongst many things, he wrote a great guide. In the 8th century, he gave a 10-day teaching about how anyone can engage with Buddhist teachings to improve themselves to become a great being, a great enlightened being. And the same presentation of these teachings has been handed down from over since the 8th century, right down to the present day. And one of the things he said is that all the happiness in the world comes from a mind that wishes others to be happy. All the happiness in the world comes from a mind that wishes others to be happy. In other words, all your happiness, your happiness is part of all the happiness in the world. No? You think it's not? All the happiness in the world comes from a mind that wishes others to be happy. So all we need to do is develop a mind that wishes others to be happy, and everything else will fall into place. And we'll just find ourselves on this path. It's like when you ever go to an airport and you have one of these moving walkways that take you to your destination. So it's like just stepping onto these moving walkways. You don't have to do anything else. And you just end up at your destination. You end up at the gate, you get on the flight, and there you go. But stepping on the walkway, you have to choose to step on the walkway. You have to choose to develop a mind that wishes others to be happy. And you have to choose to abandon a mind that wishes only yourself to be happy. Because that's the other part of what Shantideva said. All the suffering in the world comes from a mind that wishes only oneself to be happy. So what are we like when we're only thinking about ourselves? What are we like? Other people don't matter. Their happiness is not important. Their freedom from suffering is not important. If that's how we think, that only my happiness, only my freedom is important. So if you're not contributing to my happiness and my freedom, get out of my way. Or if you're preventing me from finding my happiness and freedom, get out of my way. If you don't move, I'll make you move. Isn't that how we think? No? Is it just me then? So you can see there how it's how we can, by just reducing our selfish wish, reducing our selfishness and our self-cherishing, just thinking about ourselves all the time, begin to think, how can I bring happiness to other people? How can I help others? So when we think like that, we're creating the cause to develop this beautiful mind that thinks about other people's happiness and their freedom. And then eventually, because we experience the joy that comes from that mind, we experience our own happiness, eventually we find ourselves wishing only for other people's happiness. And we think of ourselves as just a machine or a means whereby we can act to bring other happiness to other people. And that's where we get our happiness, paradoxically. The more we wish for other people's happiness, the happier we become. Paradoxically. Yeah. So you can get this tattooed on your wrist, so you keep reminding yourself, all my happiness comes from wishing others to be happy. All my suffering comes from wishing myself to be happy. So how do we train our mind in that? Well, if you were here on Thursday, I think, you probably get some insight into that. You may recall that I got you to say to your neighbour, I just want you to be happy. So go ahead and do that. Just say to your neighbour on either side of you, I just want you to be happy. And you see how that changes your mind. You see how it fills your mind with joy. Yeah. So we can train like that. I'm not saying you have to go around to everybody you know. But we're just training our mind to become more and more familiar with this thought. I just want you to be happy. Okay, so let's do that then. So imagine you're sitting very comfortably and peacefully. And someone you know, or someone you've known in the past, appears in front of you. Or maybe a group of people that you know or have known in the past. At first, you simply observe. How are they? You ask yourself this question. How are they? Do they have happiness and peace all the time? Are they able to find real happiness within their own mind? Or just do they have a few moments of joy from time to time, and dependence upon temporary things? Is their happiness only temporary? And if you think of their lives speeded up in front of you from the time they're born to the end of their life, you'll see that from time to time they experience joy and happiness, but it is purely temporary, because it's dependent upon the appearance of other things in their life. And so the thought occurs to you, I wish they could find real happiness from within their own mind. I wish their happiness could be permanent, depending only upon their own mind. And they would take this joyful mind with them from life to life. So you're thinking deeply about the people that are appearing in front of you. And you're developing this deep mind of love. Towards them. You're not thinking about yourself. And then suddenly, from this mind of love that you have, comes the thought, I shall make this happen. Indeed, I shall give them my happiness and all my future happiness, because I deeply want them to be happy. And when you have this thought, this mind of superior intention, it's as if your own heart is transformed into a wish-fulfilling jewel. And from this wish-fulfilling jewel comes rays of beautiful light. At first, the light just fills your whole body. And then the light of your own mind of love becomes so strong that the light shines through every pore of your body and touches anyone around you. As soon as this light touches them, they experience a complete transformation. They experience immeasurable joy. All their wishes are completely fulfilled. And this is permanent. You've transformed their minds, and this is permanent. Now when you observe how they are, you see the transformation that you've accomplished. And a feeling of joy begins to grow in your own heart. The more you observe, the more this feeling of joy grows. With every breath you take, this feeling of joy grows stronger and stronger until it fills your whole being. As if your whole being is the nature of joy. Now simply relax into this feeling. If the feeling of joy fades, go back to the first stage again and imagine from your heart comes these rays of beautiful light. It's bringing permanent peace and joy to anyone around you. And then realize how you're able to bring happiness and peace to anyone. And this thought alone fills you with great joy. As if your whole being becomes filled with joy, that you have this power. And for the last 2 minutes, try to have a deep feeling of joy and happiness, realizing you can bring happiness and peace to any other living being. And you can recreate all your own happiness. So now you can begin to relax your concentration once more. And when you're ready, you can arise from meditation. So, I hope the earlier meditations help you to relax. In one of Geshe Kelsang's books about meditation, he was saying that when the turbulence of distracting thoughts subside, when we let go of all those distracting thoughts and our mind becomes still, this feeling of peace and content will naturally arise. So we just need to relax and let the distractions go. And we can do this because they're only appearances in our mind. They don't exist otherwise. And then, in the latter meditations on the nature of our mind and the mind meditating on love, it revives your previous experience in previous lives of meditating on these. You've forgotten that you'd meditated like that. But you, like I said, you created the cause to meditate again. And in the future you will meditate again and again. Hopefully here. Mm-hmm. So thank you so much. Does anyone have any final question? Oh, there's another day course on the 28th of September called Letting Go and Seizing the Moment. Letting go of distractions. Are we good? Shall we finish? Thank you so much.